Hi. Hello, James. Hello, Ray.
Hi. I've got to keep looking at that.
I know.
Hello and welcome to our Telstra Google Plus Hangout celebrating the incredible underwater documentary film Deep Sea Challenge 3D.
Great first take.
It was, yeah. It'll screw it on the next one.
Here's the thing is, the way we built the sub,
Standing by an issue.
I spent,
Hello and welcome to our Telstra Google Plus Hangout today celebrating the incredible underwater documentary Deep Sea Challenge 3D. With us right now, co-director Ray Quinn and filmmaker and explorer extraordinaire James Cameron. Fellas, welcome.
Hi.
Great to see you, James.
Thank you for
Great to
having
see you, Ray.
yeah, it's good to hang out.
This is a great technology where we're streaming live on the internet right now. Hello, everyone around the world watching us and to our participants. I'm very excited. I'm just concerned because obviously what you've done to go to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in this, not this actual vehicle, you could see that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It's a real life one. If the technology had failed you there, you wouldn't be sitting here right now. You'd be a hologram.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I wouldn't be here. No, I mean it took a dedicated team of engineers to build in the safety systems because it's easy to get to the bottom of the ocean. People have been doing that for thousands of years. Getting back up is the hard part.
But putting your fate in the hands of technology, how do you feel about that? It's a theme you've explored in your films for 30 years. How do you feel to actually do that in real life?
Well, you know, like we always put our fate in the hands of technology.
As we're doing now.
Every time you get into an elevator, every time you get into an airplane or a car, you know, the difference is you're putting your fate in the hands of engineers you never meet. Here I knew the guys, which if you knew the guys, you'd wonder why I did it. No, no. Not only did I know the engineers, but I was intimately involved in the engineering process and the design of the safety systems and protocols and all that. So I was very confident in the vehicle because I've been at every step along the way for 7 years of its conception, design, and fabrication.
Yeah, it must have required incredible attention to detail. We're going to go to our participants in just a second. I wanted to know, obviously, as a filmmaker, it's something that you can, with almost any film you've made, you can fix it in the edit. You know, you can reshoot. With something like this, it's got to go right.
No, I mean, there's no, I mean, when you're making a movie, it's a whole different thing. You can always do another take. You've got a script. You know, when you're at sea, you know, the ocean hasn't read the script. And if something goes wrong with your equipment, there's no second take. So it's a whole different set of standards. It's a much higher standard in a sense.
Of course, you do see in the movie that things do go wrong on the way down at times, and then it has to come back on board, and those guys have to fix it.
Yeah.
Does he get angry, Ray, when you know, in the film it looks like when you go in Sydney Harbour and you're a couple of metres down and there's no radio comms and you come back up, I'm like, I don't want to be the guy opening the hatch.
No, I mean, you see it in the film. I mean, I'm exhausted. I'm drenched. I've lost about 5 pounds from the high temperature inside the sub. But, you know, we're like, okay, guys, we got work to do. You know, I mean, I think morale is important. So you got to keep everybody playing the game and driving forward. And, you know, coming out and pitching a hissy fit doesn't exactly improve morale very much.
You were very cool. I thought you were going to lose it. I thought that we're going to, okay, here we go. Here's the scene in the film where James Cameron, he loses it.
He looks for it. Right? You looked through 1,200.
I poured through hours and hours of footage trying to either find this guy losing it, getting angry, getting scared, whatever it might be. And he is so cool under pressure, I can't tell you.
It was so disappointing. We talked about actually simulating some scenes, you know, where I freak out. But, you know.
You were very calm. I was very impressed. I was like, what a model man. A week away from your 60th birthday. Let's get into the questions from
Had to go there.
From our participants. Well, it's a fantastic, you know, effort. What a lot you've achieved, and you know, still a lot more to do.
Just getting warmed up.
I like it. All right, let's go to our first participant. Mike is there. Mike, what's your
Hi guys. Jim, you've brought worlds to life on screen with your movies and are exploring worlds within our own world with your deep sea activities. What do you find personally more fulfilling, and why?
You know, I mean, I think I wrestle with that myself. I think when I'm on the set and I'm making you know, Hollywood feature, narrative film, that's the best thing in the world. And when I'm on a deep ocean expedition and discovering new species and seeing new things that nobody's ever seen before, that's the best thing in the world. So, you know, I just oscillate back and forth between the two. I don't want to have to choose between them on a permanent basis. I won't, you know, I mean, I'll be busy doing the Avatar films for the next few years, but in the background of that, we'll be developing new equipment and planning the next exploration work.
You know, Mike, what I discovered in the making of the movie is that Jim's an explorer in both things that he does. So he's always trying to take us into new worlds, whether it's a fictional world or whether it's in the real world, and also trying to develop technology that can enhance that experience for everybody.
Mike's also a filmmaker and a writer. Is that, you know, do you look to James Cameron and to Ray Quinn for inspiration?
Of course. I mean, like, Terminator was my favourite film growing up, so yeah, just amazing.
Okay. I peaked early. I could have. According to Mike. All this stuff afterwards.
Interestingly, this film is 3 debuts in Australian cinemas August 21. It's showing for a week. It is a must-see film, and it's going to be up against The Expendables 3, which not only has Sylvester Stallone, which of course you worked with on Rambo, but also
Arnold,
with Arnold as well, and Arnold is a supporter of this project.
No.
I think he tweeted about it. I think.
Oh yeah, he tweeted about it. Yeah, sure. You know, look, Arnold's a good friend of mine. Has been since '84 when we made the first Terminator film, and we've always been very supportive of each other's careers and activities and that sort of thing. So.
Would he fit in this?
Probably not. He might be a little too wide. It was designed for my shoulder width.
You could have saved some money on ballast, though.
So he's about half again as wide as I am. So,
wow.
Yeah, no, he would.
The sequel, maybe.
I have seen how small this sphere is that Jim sits in, and believe me, it's very tiny. In the movie, there's a moment where Jim is trying to stretch, and really.
Yeah, you can go from here to here.
Yeah.
It doesn't look comfortable, but you have this yoga kind of zen about you.
Yeah, well, I actually did yoga, and I did a fair bit of cardio training and so on.
Okay.
Because being in that cramped position, unable to, not really cramped, but you just can't move. So there's the danger of, you know, deep vein thrombosis or something. The expedition doctor was concerned about that, wanted to give me blood thinners. I said, I'm not taking that stuff, I just do yoga. Do you go to the toilet in there, or you just hold on for 3 hours? Well, this is getting really personal, dude. Yeah, no, there's a bottle. Number one, no problem. Number two, right out.
In a little flush hatch. Let's go to Tristan. He's about the world's. I think he's changed his hat. He had a cowboy hat on.
I like the cowboy hat personally, Tristan.
He's just, maybe that's actually his twin brother. Now, Tristan's also a budding filmmaker. I believe he's made his first film, a claymation, a stop motion film in the last week or so. Right. Tristan, buddy, over to you, mate. What's your question?
James, were you scared to go on this solo expedition to the deepest part of the ocean?
Look, I think that's a fair question. It's a little tricky to answer because I think the apprehension, the fear of it, if there was a strong moment of fear, was before I got in the sub, maybe the night before, thinking, you know, going through in my mind all the things that could possibly go wrong. And that would really just be the end of a process of 7 years of healthy paranoia, thinking about all the things that could fail, which feeds into the engineering process. When I'm actually getting bolted in and going into the water and starting to dive, I'm just, you know, really excited to see what's coming. You know, I mean, I'm there to explore. This was a 7-year project. I spent millions of dollars, you know, to do it. Raised millions more dollars with Rolex and National Geographic for us all to be out there. And the purpose of it is exploration. So, you know, it better be fun. And that's how I think of it. In fact, that's the last thing I said to my wife when I got in the sub is, now I'm going to go have some fun.
Is it something you would try, Tristan? Would you go in that to the bottom of the ocean, the deepest part?
He could fit in this one.
I don't even think I'll be able to fit in.
No, you in the real sub, you'd fit. You could take one of your buddies with you, make it a 2-person vehicle. But we'd have to train you how to operate the sub. Would you be down for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said, well, I've got soccer training, so I'll see
see if we can fit you in after
Mr.
soccer.
Cameron. Thanks, buddy.
My next documentary is his ride in the sub.
His hat collection.
Thanks, Tristan. Good man. Your kids are shown in the film climbing in and out of the hatch. Did anyone else go in the sub under the water, or that was
Diving.
Exclusively diving?
There were only 3 people that went through pilot training. Myself, Ron Allam, who was the co-designer, John Garvin, who designed the life support system and did all the simulation dives. The only other one that actually dove besides me was Ron Allam, and he made a dive to 1,200 meters. And some of his dive is actually in the film, simulating some of the things that I did at deeper depth.
How did he find it?
Great. He loved it. He loved every minute of it. The dive goes by so fast. You're having so much fun. You can't believe that hours have gone by.
It's obviously not for everyone, though. It's for everyone that I've talked to about this project. It's like the claustrophobia must be intense.
I don't have the claustrophobia gene, apparently, because for me, it's nice. I mean, like a jet fighter pilot on a long sortie where he's being refueled and he'll be up there for 12 or 14 hours. It's the same sort of situation. You're cramped into a cockpit. You're there to do a job. You know where everything is. Everything's within reach. Yeah. I find it comforting to have all that equipment at my immediate disposal.
Your thing was fire, wasn't it? That's what you were a little apprehensive about.
Yeah, I think fire was a concern of ours when we were actually building the sub, and we did a lot of drills. You see it in the film that we went through bailout safety drills inside the sub, because the interior of the sphere is about this big, so there's not much air, and it would be contaminated by an electrical fire in seconds. And now you've got nothing to breathe, so you better have a backup air supply that's reliable. And so that was what that was all about. I think when I was actually starting to dive, something new occurred to me to worry about that I hadn't thought of before, which is fishing nets. There's these big 3-mile-long fishing nets that break loose from these trawlers, and there's hundreds of them all over the ocean. They're weighted to hold them open, so they sink to the bottom, but the material floats, so it becomes these kind of death curtains. Oh. And if I ran into one of those, I'd be dead. There'd be no escape from it, because there's no way for the vehicle to cut itself free. And some Russian submersible pilots almost died about 10 years ago or so, got caught in a net off the Kamchatka Peninsula. But fortunately, they got a remotely operated vehicle out to them and cut them free. And it was a close thing. They almost died. But there's no vehicle that could get to the depth that I was at. So
you're far down. That's where you need Ed Harris in there.
I went deeper than Ed Harris did. The Abyss only went to 18,000 feet. I went twice that deep.
He bypassed him.
Yeah, exactly. I blew past that.
Does that liquid exist? Is that real?
Yes,
wow.
It does.
Okay.
And when you see, if you ever see the Abyss, when the rat is breathing the oxygenated fluorocarbon, that's real. That's really a rat, really breathing liquid. Now, when Ed does it, he's faking it. He's immersed in liquid inside the helmet for real, but he's faking inhaling and exhaling.
And there's a great quote about you on that film that as one of the studio execs visited the set of The Abyss, and you put the helmet on him until he was choking.
Yeah, exactly. He was the new president of Fox at the time, and he'd come out to sort of, slash all our cost overruns and tell us how to do things. And so I had just run out of air in the helmet that morning at 35 feet of depth and had to do a bailout to the surface. So when he showed up to tell us how to do our movie, I said, "Here, why don't you try this on?" And I put the helmet on his head, but I just neglected to turn the air on. I let him flop around for about a minute and then pulled it off. Said, "Get out of here."
So be warned, if there's any studio execs watching out there.
That's back when I was young and really crazy. I've mellowed out a lot since then.
I love it. It's an incredible film.
I want to learn that technique so I can use it.
I figured they were going to fire me anyway, so I had nothing to lose.
We got a great result with The Abyss. Fantastic film. Let's go on to our next participant. We have James, who is a real hip-hop fan here in Australia, which might explain that. Caps, yo!
James, I'm sorry there's no hip-hop on the soundtrack of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, next time, maybe.
Maybe not.
Maybe not, okay. The recent Deep-Sea Challenge Expedition led you almost 7 miles underwater and has been compared to when humans first landed on the moon. What was the moment like when you hit 36,000 feet and the ocean floor?
Well, I mean, you expect it to be really sort of emotional and momentous and all that sort of thing, but unfortunately, I completely blew the line. I didn't have any great line like Neil Armstrong did. I get to the bottom, the first thing I do, my checklist says, call the surface, report the depth. I call the surface, I report the depth, and I say, and then I can't think of anything else to say, so I say, well, life support's good, everything's good.
So I'm trawling through hours of footage, and I said, "Are you sure that's all he said?"
Pretty much.
So we're going to write him a script for next time.
Well, you know, I mean, I think it speaks to the fact that we didn't see it as this kind of momentous, glorious thing. For us, it was the next step in a process. I mean, certainly there was a moment when I reached the bottom after that, where, you know, I looked out the window, I looked around, I had this awareness of where I was and the most remote place on planet Earth, the farthest I could possibly be from other human beings and the works of humankind that it's possible to get to on our planet, more remote than the top of Mount Everest. And, you know, at that point you start having some emotional / philosophical reactions, you know, that I can only describe as this deep sense of humility about how tiny and insignificant we are compared to this vast unknown realm that's down there. You know, it's the last great frontier for exploration here on Earth. It's an area, if you added up all the trenches, it's an area the size of North America where no human being has been or looked. I mean, how did we get into the 21st century where we think we've mapped every square foot of the Earth's surface and never looked at an area the size of North America? It's very counterintuitive, but it speaks to how remote it is, how difficult it is to get technology down there and operate it down there, which was the whole point of making the sub in the first place. And that was the whole point of going to the deepest spot, because it wasn't an Everest mentality. It was more, if we demonstrated to the marine science community that our vehicle could go to the deepest place in the ocean, it could, by definition, go to every place in the ocean, without exception. And I thought that was a cool thing. That was a cool shingle to hang out and say we're open for business to do research.
Was it part of you, and I know it's physically impossible due to the pressure at that depth, part of you must have wanted to get outside the sub and experience the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, it's the great frustration of deep submersible diving, because once you get deeper than you can go on scuba or in a soft suit, you know, meaning like a hard hat but a soft suit, which is only about 1,000 feet. You can't go deeper than that. So I'm at 36,000 feet almost. So you really want to reach out and touch it. You want to feel it. You know, you want to feel the cold water. You want to be able to pick up the sand on the bottom. You can't do it. So you have to use your robotic arm. And it's very cumbersome and clunky and slow compared to human touch. So I think the next big field in underwater exploration should be a kind of haptic interface for a much more intuitive kind of extension set of arms, you know.
Yeah, like Homer Simpson in the nuclear power plant where he's reaching through and...
Exactly like that. That's exactly what I was going for.
Maybe something slightly more high-tech. James, thanks for your question. Let's go to Jade, who is also a fan of diving and also a miner. So she knows the ocean, she knows confined spaces, she knows about being a depth.
Oh, minor. I thought you meant she was...
No, she's over 18. She's legal. That's fine. 18 in this country. That's all good. Hi, Jade.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Jade.
James, with everything you've achieved so far, what's the next thing you wish to accomplish?
Actually, you know, it's. I mean, I think people tend to look at this as a kind of symbolic triumph, like, oh, you've climbed that big peak, scratch it off your bucket list. What's the next higher peak? I don't think of it that way. I feel like we've now opened the door with this technology. I'd like to explore the Kermadec Trench, the Tonga Trench, Puerto Rico Trench. Take a look in the Japan Trench, you know, to see the origin point for that massive tsunami that hit the coast of Japan. There's a tremendous amount of research still to be done, new vehicles to build, that sort of thing. That's on the exploration side. And then I'm going ahead with the Avatar sequel. So there's more Avatar films in the queue, and that's going to keep me very busy for the next few years.
You're shooting 3 over the next 5 years simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll shoot them all kind of in a cluster. We'll do all the capture, performance capture work. We'll do all the photography, and then we'll do the post-production on Avatar 2. That'll come out Christmas of 16. Then we finish the post on 3. That comes out 17 and 18. You see what I mean? So I want to group them. I want them to come out a year apart so that they stay in the public consciousness and they tell one sort of meta story.
A man from around here did that. Well, he's not from around here. He's Peter Jackson. Obviously, that's a.
Oh, you're only New Zealand when it suits you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anzac, friend. Anzac.
He's close.
I get it.
I
Yeah.
think the Canadians were kind of hard. They're the sea and Anzac, aren't they?
The last time I heard an Australian
Yeah.
speak well of New Zealand, I think it was in the World War I, which I wasn't around for, but I mean, having read it. I know it looks like I was around for World War I.
Not at all. No, I was in Korea, but
Cute. I was 6.
noted. Jay, does that answer your question there?
Yep, spot on. Thank
Would
you.
you like to see him do more exploring rather than get into Avatar 2, 3, and 4?
I think he's developed such new technologies and explored such depths and just the world of the ocean that no one has ever done before. And like James said, there's so much more to explore, and most people will never be able to see it in their lifetime.
Exactly. 100 lifetimes. And so it takes, you know, I mean, your enthusiasm for diving, I can sense it in your voice. Even scuba diving, you certainly see things scuba diving that you've never seen before. And if you're in a remote enough place, in some remote reef, you might even see a new species, even at shallow depth these days. That's how little we've really understood the ocean. We're certainly destroying the web of life in the ocean faster than we understand it. And that's something that we really need to be aware of.
Yeah, that must make you angry. I mean, you're a huge fan of the ocean.
Yeah. Well, you see it. I mean, the reefs that I dived on when I first started diving in my early 20s in coral reefs, a lot of them are devastated now, have half the biodiversity they used to. Some of them are bleached out, which is an effect of warming. So, climate change and warming will kill all the coral everywhere eventually, even in the marine protected areas. So it is important for us to have these protected areas to prevent, overfishing and trawl net fishing and all that sort of thing. But it's not going to make a difference in the long run if we don't stop our carbon emissions.
Scary. Thank you, Jade. We've got 2 more guys to go to, so let's go to Job. Job he knows about gaming, as you might be able to tell there behind.
Yeah.
Hello to you, Job.
Hey guys. How's it going? You guys already answered my question about claustrophobia, so I'm going to go with something a bit different. Ray, was it intimidating attempting to direct one of the greatest directors of all time?
It was very nerve-wracking. It was very challenging. It was very exciting, and ultimately it was very rewarding. I was the guy that had to try and get inside his head.
You don't want to be there.
Not an easy task, and find out what he was thinking, feeling, seeing, hearing, and try and get that onto the screen and bring it to an audience.
You're actually responsible for the human side of it. Obviously, it's an ambitious scientific and technological project, but to tell the narrative of the film, Ray was kind of tasked with bringing the story and also a kind of mini bio of James Cameron. And the bigger mission is there's no mention of Piranha 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's what editing is for. I mean, check out the special edition.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think Ray pushed it in a more human direction. I mean, I tend to get very focused on the science and the engineering, and he went through all this footage and wove a story that involved my relationship with my family. And my wife was actually on the expedition. She was in the ship, up above while I was diving, and so there was this interesting sort of connection there that you teased out of the footage.
And I thought, there's obviously people interested in the science and the expedition and the exploration, but people are also interested, obviously, in James the filmmaker as well. And so it was really important to have that kind of biographical element in the film, I thought.
It's an excellent result for the film because as we talked about, it could be something much drier, and it's actually fascinating and a real nice snapshot of what your thinking was in doing something like this. I think there could be the impression rich guy builds toy, goes in ocean. There's other Australians that have done that with their big boats, but this is so much more and so much more on a social change kind of level than just gadgets.
I think we were concerned about that, or that being the perception of it, because most people are unaware of the previous 7 deep ocean expeditions that I had done over a 15-year period. And that, in my mind, this was just an extension of work that we'd already done, designs and engineering that we'd already done, and so on. But there was always this possibility of it being perceived as this big sort of ego stunt kind of thing. And that's why I thought it was absolutely critical to have a filmmaker other than myself making the film, you know what I mean, so that they could have a perspective. And Ray had a real vision for how to tell this story. And in the post-production process, you know, I listened very much to what he had to say. And I couldn't be objective about it.
Yeah, and I think what we've both been on about really is using this film to inspire people, particularly young people, to get out there and explore, to do things, to create, to not sit back and be observers of life, but to participate. Because your wife says it so well in the movie. Does, you know, if you don't do anything, nothing happens.
Yeah. Pretty simple. Of course, she's saying that at the moment that she's choking back tears, thinking about what's about to happen. As I'm getting in the sub and being launched into the water, you know, she starts to talk about how, you know, there's fear because there's risk, and then she just stops herself and she says, but you know what? If you don't do something, nothing happens.
Yep.
And she says it with such kind of conviction, you know, because she's an educator herself, and she has a progressive school that not only is it a green school, but it has a progressive approach, which is empowerment of the kids to follow their own dreams and passions. And then the learning and the curriculum is fitted in around that. And she's taken kids and completely turned them around who were failing, who were crashing and burning, and all of a sudden are flourishing because they're now following their interest. And then the math and the English and everything else gets included.
You've got to spark and inspire them.
I used to teach in a school like that many years ago in Victoria, so it's a kind of passion of mine as well.
And kindred spirits, the two of you.
Yep.
Let's go to our last participant, our Google Hangout today. And this man is actually one of Sam Worthington's co-stars in his new Sword and Sandal epic, which is coming out. He's also, I believe, going to be in Mad Max Fury Road. Raven. No pressure. Great to have you with us.
Hi, James. I was wondering what ignited your passion for both exploration and filmmaking?
You know, I think probably slightly different drivers there. Oh, by the way, I'm having dinner with Sam tonight. I'll tell him that I saw you.
I'm not going to be.
What's that?
I'm actually not in a film with Sam. I'm in Gods of Egypt. That's with a few Jeffrey Rush, Brenton Thwaites. Sam Worthington's not in it.
All right.
Confusing my biblical epics.
Wrong biblical epic. Okay, so Robin, you know, when I was a kid, I was kind of a natural explorer. I guess I was always out. You know, we lived in rural Canada. I was surrounded by forest. I was always out in the woods and around the streams and marshes. I was collecting, you know, frogs and bugs and snakes and that sort of thing. And you know, I was basically kind of a science geek. But it wasn't coming from anywhere. It was not like my friends were science geeks. It was just I was out there kind of solo doing this. So I think I always had a real kind of burning curiosity about how the natural world works. And that translated to a desire to go into the sciences when I went to college. So I started by studying astronomy and physics. But at the same time, in parallel, I'd always been a kind of storyteller and artist, and I was drawing comic books and creating my own stories. So then I thought, oh well, you know, when I didn't do so well in math, when I didn't get an A in calculus, I thought, well, maybe science isn't it's not a place for me to pursue as a career. It can be just the way I am, the way I view the world, but not as a career. So then I switched to a lit major. Then I eventually I couldn't figure it out, so I just dropped out and became a machinist and drove a truck and kind of blue-collar jobs, get some life experience and so on. I think all of that fed into being a filmmaker because it's a technical medium. You need to understand engineering, light, optics, all of those things in order to do the visual effects and the cutting-edge stuff. But you need to be a storyteller. You need to be in touch with human emotions and all that. And I think just getting out and living life for a while in these kind of blue-collar jobs. I got married at a very young age. I think that all fed into it as well, because I see a lot of young filmmakers coming up, and all they know about life is what they've seen in movies and on TV.
Yes.
You know, and you can't make movies about movies. Yeah. You have to make movies about your own experiences. It might be refracted through a lens of a fantastic story, But the connections, the human connections, have to be things that you've experienced for yourself, or you won't recognize it right in front of you when actors do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it's what they've learned in film school, you know.
Yeah.
And you've just got to get out there and engage with the world.
Yep.
And that's ultimately the success of any artistic medium, is its ability for the audience to relate to it.
Yeah, and recognize themselves somehow or some aspect of themselves in the characters in the film.
Yeah. We have, you've done that, Ray, with this film, and you've done that.
You know, and it's kind of like, as a person, as a filmmaker, you've got to take risks yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fine to talk about the risks of actually doing the expedition, but every film you make has to be risky in some way. Every film I've made has been risky.
No.
Well, think about it.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, your whole career is about naysayers going, mate, how much money do you want to spend on this?
Yeah,
and then being vindicated both with Titanic and with Avatar.
Avatar, even before that, I mean, a big action comedy with Arnold Schwarzenegger, True Lies, right after his previous action comedy had completely crashed and burned, but it was a hit. You just gotta believe in yourself, gotta believe in the people around you, and you gotta keep going,
Yeah. Well, we look forward to your next exploits, to Avatar 2, 3, and 4. We look forward to seeing this in Australian cinemas. August 21st, you can catch Deep Sea Challenge 3D. The tickets available from Telstra, Telstra.com/movies. That's where you should be getting your tickets from. And best of luck for the future, guys. Thanks so much for your time today.
It was great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Went fast.
Very enjoyable.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Al.
I was hoping we would have
I know
someone
we never
say that.
got